Go.
Hi, my name is Tameka Thomas, and today I'll be speaking with you about the beginnings and beyond of cell phone. So, the first mobile phone was a car phone that was used in 1956. Motorola was the first company to invent the cell phone, and it was done by this gentleman here, Mr. Martin Cooper. He is known as the father of the cell phone. And a funny fact is, the first call that he made was to his arch nemesis, Mr. Joel Engel of Bell Labs. It was kind of like a funny thing because it was like, nanny, nanny, I did it first. Fun fact about the first cell phone is that it weighed 2 pounds. I mean, that's just insane considering how small cell phones are nowadays. Another fun fact is that it would take you 10 whole hours to charge the phone for just 30 minutes of talk time. 10 hours, folks, for 30 minutes of talk time. Crazy. The first mobile phone that was on the market again by Mr. Cooper was called the Motorola Dynatec 8000. That came on the market in 1983. If some of you, go further back, you remember a major motion picture that starred Michael Douglas called Wall Street. There's a picture here that shows you that. He used that phone throughout the movie. Another one that I remember is Mr. Zach Morris. He was just the coolest kid on a show called Saved by the Bell. And I remember him daily watching that show, chit-chatting on the phone. So, in the beginning, cell phones were primarily used for businessmen. Like I said before, Mr. Michael Douglas, he was in that movie Wall Street. So those were really the people that generally used it. One of the main reasons was because it cost so much money. The first cell phone cost $3,600. I mean, we think cell phones are expensive now. If you just buy it outright, you don't get into a plan, all of, those details. At what iPhone costs about $800. Can you imagine paying $3,600 for a phone you have to take 10 hours to charge for 30 minutes of talk time? So by 1989, Motorola introduced the first flip phone. Now, I remember the flip phone. I remember that my parents had a flip phone. And as the technology advanced and there were longer talk times, we all know that the phones got smaller. There were added features. They became a little bit more affordable. It grew amongst people other than people in the business world. So basically, us commoners that weren't Wall Street, financial analysts or stockbrokers, we now could afford these phones. About 1986, text messaging was developed. The first text message, however, was not sent until 1992, and it basically just said, "Merry Christmas." And that was done by Mr. Neil Papworth. So the beginning of the smartphone, as we all know it, came in about 1993. It had a calendar, a touch screen, and some other features, but the price tag wasn't that $3,600, but it was still up there at that time at $720. A year later, the Haganuk MT2000 was the first to include a game, the ever popular Tetris. Now, I loved Tetris when I was a kid, and it was like amazing that you could actually play this on a phone. Very slowly, the internet was introduced in about 1997 by Philippe Kahn, and he developed the first camera phone and sent the very first photo using a cell phone from the maternity ward, and that was of his cute little daughter. So the first smartphone, as we all know it in this day and age, was released in 2002. It could send and receive messages and emails, but it didn't have a speaker or a microphone, and it definitely needed a headset to work. It could also take pictures that had to be downloaded onto a computer and then printed at home, which no one really prints pictures anymore, but could you imagine not being able to post to Facebook or send it right away to your mom or your dad or your friends, at that moment? So the iPhone era, as we all know, this was huge. Mr. Steve Jobs. I mean, I have an iPhone now. Everyone basically has an iPhone. He's the co-founder, well, he was, rest in peace, he was the co-founder of Apple. And in January of 2007, he sold his first iPhones exclusively through AT&T. It featured a never-seen-before touchscreen and allowed users to do almost anything that they can do from home on their computer. I mean, it was literally a computer in your hand. It also had a couple of years later, about 2 to 3 years later, now we had video recording capabilities. I mean, I remember having the big camcorders, and then they went to the small handheld camcorders, and now you can literally record something like I'm doing right now from my iPhone. Isn't that amazing? So, and beyond. Now, I'm sure it's no surprise that the cell phone company is a $1 billion company to anyone. I mean, there's so many technological advances that are continuing to be made. And we're all constantly, when iPhones come out, every new edition of the iPhones, people are literally camping out and waiting just to get their hands on these iPhones. I mean, it's crazy to think about where cell phones started to where they are now, and then to even consider where they may go. Who knows where they'll go. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation today on cell phones, and I hope you look forward to the next edition just as I do. Thank you.